Okay. Hi, this is Abraham, and we have
Jason.
We're interviewing Mrs. Wright. She's a middle school principal for Yes Prep. So we're doing this project for biology. So let's get started. As a principal, and would you say that Yes Prep would be a minority school or a majority school?
You mean the student population?
Yeah.
I would say we work with students that are primarily minority students. However, at our school, the minority students are the majority.
Do you think that the kids that come here have a better chance than the kids that go to Beverly Hills? Because most of the kids, like I am, our parents make less money than the kids that would be like Beverly Hills or River Oaks or Spring. Like, do you think our level of education changes?
I don't feel like I can talk about like this school compared to a school that I don't know anything about. I feel like you are an advantage because you're at a school where teaching and quality instruction is the primary focus. So regardless of whether you're at a school where the population of students come from a background that's very affluent, or if you're going to a school where the population of students are coming from a lower socioeconomic class, I think the school has the opportunity to value instruction and teaching and learning, or they have the choice not to. And so I think in many cases there are schools that have students that come from very, very wealthy backgrounds, but they don't prioritize education as a learning experience. Maybe it's more of like a stepping stone to get to the next place. Or you can have that same exact type of school where they do want the students to be lifelong learners, and that could be a good school. So I don't necessarily think it matters. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much money someone has when they walk into a building. It's about what are the people working in that building prioritizing. And what we value here is that our students receive an education that's equipping them for the rest of their life.
So money doesn't matter?
In terms of how well you are going to be educated?
Yes. Not the school you go to, and definitely not, because Yes is in between. It's not like Yes brought, as you well know, that Yes brought up a program, a system where, it doesn't matter what zip code you're from, it doesn't matter how much money you make, you'll get the same level of education that everybody else does, and even a higher education. But I mean, for the kids that don't come to Yes, or the kids that doesn't come from like KIP 3D or school that's this foundation, does money matter?
The public education system in our country certainly has been influenced by the socioeconomic background of the people that attend that school or the people that live in that community. So absolutely, in less affluent areas, in areas where there's higher levels of poverty or there's higher levels of minorities and maybe there's poverty paired with that, those schools statistically and historically have become failing schools because the institution of education has not been created to prioritize those places or those people. So there's no voice coming from the community. So for example, like when my kids go to college or when my kids go to school, I will have a voice in their education, and I'm educated myself to make sure that they're receiving a quality education. If they're not, I'm going to say something about it. However, there are a lot of students at our school whose parents don't know what a quality education should look like, and so they don't even know what they should be arguing for or what they should be fighting for their own kids.
And do you think if schools like Yes were to sort of like spark all over the world, do you think there would eventually be a day where schools like Yes wouldn't exist because the level of education would just shoot up and it would be equal across the nation possibly?
Absolutely. That's the hope, right? I mean, the hope is that we don't have to have a Yes school in Houston and a non-Yes school, that we have schools in Houston, and that school equals a quality education. That's the mission behind what we do. I don't work at Yes because I want Yes to be successful. I work at Yes because I want you to go to college, and I want you to go to college. And if you can go to college and you could receive the same level of support and you could be challenged academically with the same rigorous education at a place down the road, I would never argue against you going there.
And do you think if the government were to help us out, then do you think sort of a nationwide sort of uprising would start to spark the education increase?
I think it's already started. Yeah, I think it's already started to happen a lot. I think for a long time there was a push from society that government's aid was needed to come in the form of money, and I think that more and more we're seeing, like with successful charter movements like Yes, that just having money is not going to equal a good school. And in fact, there are plenty of schools that you see that are, money is just shoveled into the school to try to make it better, and it doesn't do any good. So we could have, smart boards in every classroom and Elmos in every classroom, and every kid could have a laptop. That's not going to equal a better education for anyone. So, but I would say absolutely, there's definitely a public awareness of failing schools now, and I think that it's moving in that direction.
And last question before we close the interview: do you think if with the recession that we're having now, do you think if it ended, and do you think education affects a country's sort of status in the world?
You mean like the economic health of the country? Yeah. I mean, I don't know how it could not. I'm not very well versed in economics, but I would say when you look at countries that are highly successful and have world power, they're generally countries where the level of education is very high. And then you look at third world countries where education is very low, poverty-stricken countries, and those countries are often the countries that either don't have power or they seek out power through violence or some sort of forceful manner.
I have one last thing before we close out. So to the kids that don't come to a system like Yes provides or like the other schools provides, and to the kids that are in a higher school or in a lower school, what advice would you have them, and what can you give them to make it out through the years to get themselves to college? Those who do not know how to get there, and those who are taking it for advantage.
So a student that isn't able to go to a Yes school but wants to go to college.
Yeah.
Hard work. There's no shortcut. There's no shortcut. And I think the world will try to tell you otherwise. In every other aspect of your life, people are going to try to tell you that there's some shorter route or some easier version of something, and it's a lie. And I think that, the more that we can teach you guys that the only way that you're going to be successful is through commitment and hard work and consistently doing your very, very best, then the better off I think our entire country will be, because we'll have a philosophy of hard work, which I think right now we have a philosophy of trying to find easy ways.
Thank you, Mrs. Wright, for the interview. We're pleasures that we had you today. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.